Okay, we ready? Well, let's go. You weren't given your children by accident. God chose you specifically to be their father. Welcome to Dad on Purpose, presented by Daddy Up, where we learn to reflect the heart of Jesus in our homes and protect the next generation through faith, presence, and love. I'm Jason Jones, and together, we're choosing to be Dad on Purpose. So, first and foremost, before we get into anything in this first episode, I want to send a huge, heartfelt thank you from the bottom of my heart for anyone who is choosing to listen to this first episode. This podcast has been something that's been on my mind, my soul, my spirit for a very long time. There have been a lot of roadblocks that I have allowed to kind of creep in and prevent me from getting to the point where we're at right now. But that's a different story for a different day. So again, I'll end this part by just saying thank you from the bottom of my heart. It truly means a lot that you have tuned in, and hopefully there's something in this podcast throughout the series that kind of speaks to you. And so thank you. Now that we've gotten that out the way, my name is Jason Jones. I am a father of four, and I absolutely adore my journey in fatherhood. I believe the reason that I was born, the reason that I've seen what I've seen, the reason why I've gone through everything that I've gone through was to be a father. I believe that's one of the main reason that God placed me on this earth, to be a father to the four angels that he blessed me with. Life's not perfect. I do not have all the answers, but I'm learning every single day. I have four children. We have Brooklyn, who is 14. So yes, we're hitting those teenage years and things are starting to get a little bit different. If you have a teenager, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have Ruby, who's 12. Jason Jr., my boy, who is 9. And then we have Pepper, who is 8. So 3 boys, 1 girl. And combined, I have about 43 years of parenting experience. I believe my math is right there. But again, between the 4 children, about 43 years of combined parenting experience. Again, I don't say that to make it seem like I know what I'm talking about, because every single day is uncharted territory, right? Like there's things that I have to, I guess, face in fatherhood that I've never had to face before every single day. I do not have all the answers, but sometimes, I got a little bit of experience. I may know what I'm talking about a little bit. But absolutely, like I was saying, I truly enjoy being a father. It's my life's work. And this podcast is designed for, I guess, for men, or not just men, but just parents in general, right? Who absolutely adore being a parent. But it's also designed for people who struggle with being a parent, because this job is not easy, right? It's the hardest or hardest task that you will ever go through, the hardest thing that you will ever do, but it is by far the most rewarding job that you will ever have in your life. Some people have children and they're like a fish to water. They kind of take to it very easily. Some we have to grow into it. So this podcast is designed for, those alike who, whether you love it, whether you're struggling with it, whatever it may be, there's something in this podcast, I believe, that will speak to you. So let's get started. If you know anything about me, or if you know me personally, you know that a few years back, I started an organization called Daddy Up. Now, I'll get into the whole origin of Daddy Up at some point, but just to kind of give a little bit of a background on it, Daddy Up was basically just to inspire fathers, right? Whether it be through social media postings, whether it be through different events that we did in my hometown of Willingboro, New Jersey. It was meant to inspire fathers and inspire just parents in general, but specifically fathers, to kind of, understand what their role was as that father, and, just kind of bask in it and enjoy the role that God had put them in. And there is an origin to Daddy Up. There's a whole story behind that, and we'll get into that at some point. But there's a different origin story that I want to tell right now. And that's the origin of this podcast and what kind of happened to me in the moment to get me to the point where we're at right now with the Dad on Purpose podcast. So, a few years ago, I remember seemed like everything that I was seeing, whether it was on social media or just in general, it seemed like I was getting this very heavy sign to meditate. I was scrolling videos, people were like, whoa, we meditate here, we meditate there, meditate. It's really good for your mental health. It's good for this, it's good for that. And I remember seeing somebody, or maybe a few people, who had said they use meditation to kind of get answers from God, right? Like if they sit down and they ask a question and they kind of just sit there quietly, eventually God will speak to them. So I thought, all these things that I'm saying, maybe meditating would be a good thing for me. Now, I had never meditated up until that point, right? I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what to do, but I knew it was something that I wanted to try just to see if it would help me. Going through some struggles at the time, and I just needed some peace of mind. I needed just, I guess, to clear my mind to kind of help me with what I was battling with at the time. And I remember I found a quiet moment, which if you have multiple children, quiet moments are few and far between, right? Like they really never ever happen. But I found a quiet moment when all the children were out of the house. They were all going somewhere, and I thought this is the perfect opportunity for me to do this meditation thing. So I put myself in a very comfortable position. I put on some meditation music. Went on YouTube and found just search meditation music. Put on the first video that I could find. And I remember sitting there and I just closed my eyes and I tried to just be in the moment. I didn't know what I was doing, right? The first couple minutes, 5 minutes or so, my mind was racing all over the place. All these different thoughts were running through my head. Am I doing this right? Am I not doing this right? What's it supposed to feel like? I don't know. I don't know. I knew that I needed to clear my mind. So for me, the way that I did that was I just imagined myself as an astronaut, like full astronaut gear, the suit, the helmet, everything. And I just kind of imagined myself floating through space. And it didn't take long, but it started to work, right? Me just imagining myself floating started to clear my mind and the thoughts started to slow down. And I just sat there with that visual for maybe, I don't know how long it was. It felt like it was about 30, 45 minutes or so. Sat there with that visual and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I heard a voice. Now remember, like I said earlier, I had seen people who said that if they asked God a question and then they just sat there still enough, that he would come to them and he would answer. And so I'm sitting there and I'm still. It feels like forever. I'm just still. And I heard a voice say three very simple but extremely profound words. And what I heard was protect the kids. And the first thought that I had when I heard that was, is that God? Like, is God talking to me? But I stayed in the meditation. I stayed in the moment. And maybe a minute or two later, real big, like I lost a visual of me floating through space and I could see like real big in like spotlights the words protect the children. It felt like a movie premiere, like the name of a movie up in lights somewhere, like real big and bright. And it just said protect the kids. And between me hearing what I heard and me seeing the visual, it pulled me out of the meditation. And I remember just waking up and kind of like feeling like, did I just have the experience that I think I did? And it was life changing because I honestly believe that God sent me a message to protect the kids. Now here's what happened. I was confused. I had no idea what it meant because in my mind, my children are protected, right? Like I'm protecting my kids. I provide for them. I take care of them. As if we're talking about protection, try me and you'll see how I protect my kids, right? So I was confused. Like, what does he mean protect the kids? And that sat with me for a while, maybe about a week or so, where it just kept on replaying in my mind, protect the kids, protect the kids. What is he talking about? My kids are protected. I could not make any kind of connection between the message that I got, the visual that I saw, and where I was supposed to go. And then one day, like I said, maybe about a week or so later, everything clicked. And it wasn't the message to me wasn't about protecting my kids. It was about protecting the kids in general. And the way that I was supposed to do that was by inspiring the fathers, which was in line with what I had started previously with Daddy Up. Again, it was about inspiration. It was about trying to make fathers feel a sense of pride and a sense of accomplishment for being a father. And really, like I said, kind of walking in that role with, I guess pride is the word that I'm looking for, with as much pride as possible. So it started to make sense. Okay, I'm supposed to protect the kids by helping their fathers, inspiring their fathers, and maybe that will, protect them. So everything kind of like clicked, right? And that's when I thought like, oh, I need to start a podcast. I need a wider reach than what I had been doing up to that point. Now, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, there were a lot of things that I battled with mentally that prevented me from starting this podcast. One of them was the fear of not being perfect, or yes, fear of not being perfect, but also too much information, right? Like I'm a classic overthinker. So in my mind, it was, well, let me plan everything out, let me figure it out, and get all the information that I need, and then kind of formulate a plan from there. But there were so many questions that I had. What kind of microphone do I need? Do I need to do a video? Do I need to do just the audio? How am I supposed to do this? Well, I don't have a good studio that I can go to, or if I do a visual podcast, I don't have like a place that's going to look nice, like how podcasts look nowadays. How long does my podcast have to be? Do I need a co-host? Am I going to be able to carry a podcast for, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, however long it may be? There were all these different things that just crept into my mind that I let prevent me from actually just starting, right? Because starting is how you get better. You can't get better at something without starting, without actually going through the process. And I was paralyzed by the fear of not knowing what I was doing, or at least not looking like I knew what I was doing. And that held me back for a few years. But I'm happy to say now that the fear of not being perfect is no longer an issue. I'm not going to have all the right answers when I start this podcast. Things are going to be a little bit off. I'm sure this first episode is probably, if you've listened to podcasts before, this first episode may be a little bit unorthodox than what you've listened to before, because it's not polished. It's not like this is gritty. It's raw. Right now, I'm sitting in my closet with a little $20 Amazon microphone clipped to my collar, and I'm just recording. I got my phone here, and I'm just trying to make something happen. So that's where we are at this point. But I do understand that the message that I received from God to protect the kids is one that I must carry out. I can't just sit back and let fear stop the job that I'm supposed to do on this planet. So, perfect or not, we're moving forward, and we're going to get on this mission that God has me on, and we're going to roll. We're going to ride it until the wheels fall off. So, again, I thank you for being here for this first episode. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a background to what inspired me, so people kind of have an idea of who I am and what this is about for me. It's not about any kind of notoriety. It's not about whatever, it's about doing the mission that I believe, or one of the missions outside of being a father that I believe that I'm here for. And that's to use my voice to inspire as many men slash parents as possible. And again, I'm just happy that you're here. I will say that if you're a dad who wants to grow in faith, love, and leadership, that you are in the right place. Together, we'll learn to protect what matters most, and that's by becoming the that God has designed us to be. So that's it for the first episode. We've reached the end, and if you've made it this far, again, from the bottom of my heart, huge thank you. I promise that as we go forward, the podcast will start to become a little bit more polished, a little bit more put together. But, I don't know what I don't know until I don't know it. And that's kind of what this process is about, figuring out where I'm weak so I can become better. And that's kind of, in a weird way, that's what parenting is, right? Figuring out where you're weak and then becoming better. So I thank you for being here on this first episode. It's We'll see. We'll see what happens as we go forward. I do thank you for joining me today. There's one thing that I want to leave you with. Remember, your presence is powerful, your role is sacred, and God chose you for this calling. Fatherhood is not easy, but it's holy work. Keep learning, keep loving, and keep leading your family in faith. Until next time, be dad on purpose.